Hello, hello.
Hello.
Welcome to another week of We Want to Watch.
It is another week. Uh, this is week 20, I think. I think this is our 20th movie,
Wow, pretty momentous.
I guess. Yeah, a third of the year, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, over.
yeah. So, hey,
Wow.
crazy. We'll have to think of what to do for our, 1 year anniversary of this
1 year is
podcast.
crazy. That's nuts to think about.
Yeah, most podcasts don't last this long, right? We've
We'll
already
be at
got
50 movies, 52. Wow.
over that considering we've done double features too. So.
We're just overachievers, right? End of the day.
We are. It's true.
The name of these overachievers is Ricky and...
I'm Lane. This is the most strange, bizarro intro to this podcast we've ever done.
We're mixing it up.
Yeah.
Up, right?
Well, we got no discourse. I almost said no podcast. We got no podcast.
We got no podcast. There's no features at all.
What's that meme that's like, we got no cash, no money? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, we got no cash, no money.
No, it's like back then we had Johnny Cash. I can't think of who the other two. Fuck.
Okay, I'm starting to see what direction you're going with this, though.
It's like we had Johnny Cash, someone else, and Kevin Bacon. Now we got no cash and no this other person. Someone protect Kevin Bacon. I can't believe you've never heard this.
No, I mean, I've probably heard it, but
It's probably from the era that this movie was made. It's like
Yeah,
a
true,
peak
yeah.
2004-ish humor.
I was gonna say it's very Chuck Norris-esque, right?
I had that
same
shirt.
vibes.
I had a shirt that was the many faces of Chuck Norris, and it was just a nine grid of Chuck Norris's face the same way 9 times.
That's some really good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the cultural phenom around that, right?
I don't know.
Same with Chuck Testa. Chuck Testa, you know.
Chuck Testa was from a
Remember
very
that?
different. Oh, I remember. But I feel like
Wait, was it Chuck Testa?
yeah,
Chuck Testa?
yeah. No, Chuck Testa was the meme.
Yeah. Oh yeah, nope. Chuck Testa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was a very niche part of the internet that made those jokes. Whereas Chuck Norris, was on a
everywhere,
12-year-old
yeah.
shirt. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. As a part of the narwhal baconing at midnight.
Oh my god.
Shout out Reddit.
That was so loud into the mic.
I leaned back for it too. I was trying to,
Yeah. No,
I was just projecting too much.
I appreciate that we watched this movie for a few reasons, and I do think the cultural capsule of it is the most interesting part of it, because it has been
For sure.
20 years basically dead on since this movie came out but was made, or maybe it was. So we're talking about Fahrenheit 9/11. This was a Rick's pick, sort of Rick's pick.
Kind of.
Yeah. How did remind the listeners how we landed on this movie?
So I forget what we were discussing, but somehow the topic of the 2001 Grammys or Oscars came up. And Michael Moore was there for another movie, which I
It
forget
was
the name
Bowling
of.
for Columbine, right? But I got confused with that.
Right.
That's how we got to this, was because I was like, oh yeah,
Right.
Fahrenheit 9/11, because he got booed. You had seen the clip on Twitter
Right.
of him getting booed, and I was like, oh, it was for Fahrenheit 9/11. But no, he won his Oscar for Bowling for Columbine, and this is the movie, the one we're talking about today, is the one he made directly after that. So
Yeah. Kind of brave, honestly.
yeah. It's funny that there's so much revisionism from, at least from politicians nowadays that were around back then but are still around now, where it's like, oh, that was a mistake, we all made, but it's like back then you didn't see it as a mistake, right? And so it's nice to
Yeah.
see something from back, from 2004 being like, actually no, there were people against this, we're not correcting the record, so to speak, by revising the way that we all kind of thought of it at the time. So and I know I'm using we as a country. Obviously, you and I were like what, like 6 years old or whatever when when
Yeah,
all this was
yeah.
happening. But
Not the
oh
docs
my
are
god,
ages, but
have you? Okay, so have you seen any other Michael Moore documentaries like Bowling for Columbine or Sicko or any of those?
no, no, I don't believe I have. And like, I'm not huge on documentaries either. So I will say, when I first started watching this,
You were like, what is
I
this? Is this real? A
yeah,
nonfiction
yeah.
movie?
Uh, they're using the clips from real life. I thought you couldn't do that in a movie. That's
This is
illegal.
copyrighted.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Have you heard of intellectual property? Mr. Disney would like a word with you. Um, so
For the listeners at
no,
home, Ricky is holding up his finger, like one pointer finger, like when you use the nerd voice, when you say like, "Well, actually."
Hey there, brother.
Oh my god.
For all
Okay.
my sketch fans out there. No, anyway, moving on, moving on. Um, when I started the movie, I didn't. So like, I wasn't the biggest fan of Mike Moore. Just like coming off the rip, he seems
Mike.
like
First name,
yeah,
you're not even a first name basis, but you've got a nickname for him. You got Mike Moore over here.
Mikey,
Mikey.
Mikey
Yeah.
Moore. You know, as we all
Hey,
knew him.
yeah.
Hey, Mikey Moore, come on, give me some more. So, for some reason, I really like kind of off-putting when I first started watching it, and I think it's because like it matches the vibe of like YouTuber conspiracy documentarists
Yes,
so well.
for sure, for sure. And
Yeah.
I think he's the prototype. You know, he was the
Yeah. Oh,
blueprint.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He's the progenitor. You know, he spawned all of these out here.
He's-
fucking vampires.
Well, this is like, I mean, this movie, big like BitTorrent YouTube rip in 360p with Turkish subtitles, like, you know what I mean, like vibes here.
Yeah.
And you know, I am not comparing him to this person, like the content of their character, but I do think he and Alex Jones are like similar in certain ways with their propaganda style. I have never seen an Alex Jones document like any of the stuff that he's made, like documentary wise. I've just
Yeah.
you know listened to people talk about a show and like listen to clips from his show, and I do think that they are both like taking certain shock jock whatever conspiracist political topics and like spinning them in a populist way. Alex Jones to a much worse effect, like a like infinitely worse effect, and neither of them are as smart as they think they are. I think is what watching this, it really drove home. Like, okay, this I don't think this is a terrible movie. I just it's kind of quaint,
Yeah.
yeah. But I
Yeah.
hear you about him being off-putting.
Yeah, I think the not as smart as they think they are, like dead on, right? And obviously they're sort of like batting for different sides, but it's funny because like Mike Moore at least seems to have like some sort of like view outside of himself. Like he sort of has an understanding, like a bit of self consciousness about what he's talking about. Whereas Alex Jones, it doesn't feel like has that.
No, AJ just says whatever the fuck comes. Like they put papers on his desk and he reads headlines. Like that's all that he does. So
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I mean, maybe there was a time because I mean he's been doing that like 30 years now, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe there was a time that he had better intentions or a more clear sort of focus for what he was doing.
yeah,
But yeah, I will say one thing that I think Michael Moore does really well, and especially in this movie, is like show the not only like multiple perspectives, but like the perspective of like the everyman
Yeah.
from like a very real level where
yeah,
it doesn't feel cherry picked, I guess I'll say.
yeah. I feel
Nice.
that. Well, so his first documentary is one I like. I've only seen these two, that like Columbine, this one, and his first one. I haven't seen any of the others. But his first one is about like he's basically it's called Roger and Me, and he's trying to get in touch with the like CEO of General Motors because he's from Flint, and so Flint, Michigan, and so he's like trying to get in touch with the CEO of GM because they're laying everybody off and like moving jobs like outside the country, and he's just trying to like contact them and like to basically have an interview, and it's just like this
Yeah.
kind of saga of him being unable to do so because no one wants to, he's in hiding basically because of what they're doing. And so
Yeah, yeah.
that movie is way, very rooted in his conversations with like the people who are being laid off and the people who are on unemployment and like you said, the everyman. And so yeah, it's interesting to see that kind of like filmmaking style or like those tendencies brought to a national, international, story like this one, because
Yeah, yeah.
I think it kind of feels a little cheap in this movie. Like I think using the
Really?
a little bit. I mean, it's impactful to see. Like the one that comes to mind the most is the mom, the mother of the like she's in
Yeah.
Flint and she's the mother of whatever the one guy who dies in the helicopter crash.
Hmm.
It all kind of comes to nothing. I mean, her story is good in saying it's showing the complexity of like how can you be a American nationalist and like pro-military and what like supporting this war while your kid is dead, and has been, thrown to the meat grinder basically. Like I think that's
Right,
interesting, but I don't think it's serving the greater narrative that he's trying to tell in a way. I don't know. It feels like it feels out of place because he spends the front half of the movie being like, and Bush and Cheney and Halliburton and like Bush's military service time and like the oil fields and like everything is so like macro that the shift to micro just feels like almost insincere, I guess.
I mean, it's definitely supposed to be like a personal attack, almost like saying like, okay, like here's my evidence, here's what these guys did, and then like the back half is just like, hey, look how shitty it was for all the actual people, like boots on the ground, like they really fucked these guys over, right? Which like I don't know, I kind of enjoyed that, right? Like the sort of duality, I guess. And I mean, I know he's not the only one, but seeing him like confront like congressmen and senators for like what they've done is kind of refreshing, I guess. I mean, it's something that still happens nowadays, but like even now, it seems like it's sort of like taboo to like confront political figures for like what they're doing politically, and it's like, well, I mean, there's some job accountability that has to happen,
Yeah.
but like,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I've seen like articles of people like being yelled at in restaurants, yada yada, and like then they like speak on the house floor about like, hey, like
I should have decency.
let's try to be civil.
Yeah.
So some human decency while we're out there, and it's like, yeah, I mean, you're sending these people's like sons and daughters off to be killed. I think they can, maybe yell at you while you're having cheesecake. Like,
Yeah.
it's 50-50 trade-offs.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, that only happens to the absolute most despicable politicians too. Like, it's not like they're
Yeah.
doing it
Oh,
to
yeah.
just like random no name. It's like Ted Cruz and
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean. So like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like you're
like
fine.
the most vocal, like pro-war,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
yeah, and it's not like, I don't know. I I don't know enough about politics to call out like a particular senator or congressman who like has good policy. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to. But yeah, it's I don't know, discriminatory in the way that people like people aren't just going out there and finding any public figure and saying
Right.
like, oh, like, yeah,
Yeah. It's measured.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
measured is the
Yeah.
response.
Well,
Yes.
and I would so much rather see that than, again, the revisionist kind of like, oh, George Bush just does paintings now, like kind of thing.
Right,
Yeah. I'm
yeah,
sure you've
yeah,
seen
yeah.
that on Twitter. Like that was big in like
Yeah.
2019, 2020. Like, yeah, just like
It's a way for him to heal through the trauma that he caused
yeah, by
millions of
killing.
people
I
around
was
the
gonna
world.
say, yeah.
Yeah, like,
It's fucked
oh,
up. Yeah.
interesting. Good.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing the and like, especially seeing like the collusion aspect, right? Where like the sort of transition period right at the middle, where they were like, oh, like here's halibut,
Halliburton.
Halliburton.
Halibut-
Halibut is a
It's a fish, yeah.
yeah. They're like, it's George Bush on like a fucking fishing trip. He's like holding it up next to him.
my
He's
God.
like, here's halibut. Anyway, yeah, no, but like seeing the collusion between like Halliburton and like these defense contractors and their military counterparts, like the people who are signing their paychecks, who are approving these budgets, and seeing how they treated their soldiers versus like the people under their direct hire, and like how it affects these soldiers, and like the guys who are like actively being scorned by the very like military industrial complex government, which is sending them out into the meat grinder, like you said.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a shame.
Well, okay, so I don't want us to just talk about politics this whole time because I feel like that's boring.
Yeah.
And like you said, neither what the fuck do we know? Not that we know anything about movies either,
Right.
but the barrier to entry seems a little bit lower.
Yeah,
But-
fair.
No, but I do think this kind of segues into a point. The gimmicks. Like, Michael Moore is known for, like, his stunts or his gimmicks, you know what I mean? And so the one that comes to mind related to what you just said is the one in this movie where he goes to all of the senators and he's like, hey, do you want your kid to sign up? And it's such a like low-hanging, like easy, like slam dunk, whatever, you know, what like kind of own, but it works because it's still effective. And people like the right and like brain dead idiots like fucking Christopher Hitchens and like other political like idiots at the time criticized this movie. And you know, Michael Moore has a huge reputation as like a you know, a liberal blowhard, like whatever, you know, kind of guy. And
I mean, makes sense.
Right? It's true,
like,
right? Like, but like, you know, he is doing like propaganda here, and I'm using that in like a neutral enough way. But like, it is true, you know, if you go up to a senator or like, I do think that that's, even though obviously no one wants to send their kid to war, the fact that these hawkish politicians are at the time of the war, at the height of like, you know, support our troops, like never forget, etc. Like the fact that they, you know, are still not even able to give a salient answer to, you know, no, I don't want to send my kid to war because, like, I you know, it's an easy win and it doesn't really say much, but it kind of does. It's still, the point is made.
Hey, why don't presidents fight the war? Why do they only send the poor?
Why do they always send the poor?
Why do they only send the poor?
Thank you. I hope the mic picked that up. I'll cut in there.
Oh.
But no, it's like I said, it's an easy win. But those kinds of stunts they're good they're good movie watching, you know. And he does that in his other, you know, movies as well. He'll like go to Walmart and like try to buy a gun same day in the Columbine movie, and like Roger and Me, he's constantly like hectoring, you know, the various like General Motors, like, you know, C-suite executives and stuff, and trying to like get them to talk. And it's stunts, but it's, you know, he makes his points, even though they're not the smartest points or the you know, strongest points. It's like they're made.
And you know what? I think that's also kind of why it feels like he's got that sort of YouTube vibe to him too, because it's like he's there, like he's boots on the ground, right? And it's like the way that especially like the politicians sort of like seem to know him when he first started like interrogating
he had
them.
a reputation for sure.
Yeah. And like they were almost joking about it. Like he's like, "Hey, I'm Michael Moore," and they're like, yeah. But they seem like okay with at least the first few. I mean, assuming that like these were shot in chronological order, which I don't know. Like again, like I mean, a lot of the shit that he shows could be like cut together in so many different ways. And I mean, it is a propaganda movie, but like he kind of does it pretty well. And it's like they kind of make it easy for him. I don't know. Like,
that's true.
I feel like there's a lot of
scene.
like Yeah. And I mean, even like George Bush, like a lot of like the shit that he says, it's so easily like clippable.
Well, Bush has like all of I mean, they call them Bushisms, for God's sake, like of all of putting his foot in his mouth.
See, it's kind of the fact that it's like Bushisms and it's almost seen as like endearing, right? Like it's a little like punch on the shoulder, like he's just good old Uncle Bushy, right?
It's like this movie is like a capsule from when calling Republicans stupid and like equating conservatism to like banjo playing idiots from down south. You know, he opens the movie by playing the band like with this like crazy banjo song while he explains everything, and it's like that was seen as like the pinnacle of like intellectualism and like progressivism. It was like your civic duty to like take down George Bush and call him an idiot. And it seems so quaint now in a way because it's like we have seen the same thing happen with fucking Donald Trump for the last whatever 8 years, but it hasn't done any. It doesn't matter. Like nothing. That doesn't. It like people
it's
have
the same cycle.
It's the only thing people know how to do is how to criticize him for, and so. But that doesn't change anything, and so it seems more quaint.
And I mean, like, you keep criticizing the same people that they keep propping up over and over again, right? Like both sides of the political machine, right? They prop up people, and they're very easy to take down because they have like very defined flaws.
Right.
And then when you point those out, they either try to circumvent it, right? Where it's like, oh, like, no, Joe Biden isn't too old, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, both sides do the same sort of stuff, and it's, I mean, great, cool, but I mean, end of the day, they're all politicians.
Yeah.
They don't get a shit.
Do you think
about
George
us, right?
Bush cares that you called him an idiot? No, he has his fucking oil millions, and he's fine. Like he'll be set for life.
And his oil paintings, he's gonna sit there and have a good time. Like, he's healing, okay?
Oh my God.
He's got 1.4 trillion from the Saudis.
Yeah.
He's healing, okay?
Yeah, I do think in this movie, some of the like cheap humor like that, where it's like Bush is an idiot. It's like you could describe that Bush is an idiot like once, and that would be enough. You don't need to. That should not be your main point. And it does. I don't think that you. Again, people do this with Trump too, where it's like they're kind of these contradictory points. Hey, who is this? Is this Archie
This
or
is Lionel.
Lionel?
No, Lionel's just getting. Sorry, he's just really interested.
In the microphone? Does he want to say anything?
No, he wants to stand on the keyboard.
Oh, cool.
He's scratching. He's having a good time.
Good for him. Good for him. If you want to put the mic up to him so we can hear his scratching, that's a possibility.
No, he's already run away.
Okay.
He's got a little. He's got the cat tree next to me, and he likes to dig in every now and again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Right.
But no, so the like. They want to have their cake and eat it too, and they do it with Trump, too, where it's like he's so stupid, he's so incompetent, they're so whatever, like they're lazy, they go on vacation, whatever, but also they're the mastermind architects behind the war and like COVID denialism and whatever, and it's like I don't necessarily think that those things do compete, but it is also it cheapens your message. You don't have to talk about how stupid and lazy they are. Like that's not really important. I'm lazy and stupid. It's fine. I don't think I'm a bad person though because of those things.
We're all human,
Yeah.
Like,
but there's more important things to talk about in a person than their like whatever. Yeah, perceived intelligence or laziness. Like there's just.
Yeah, and I mean even those things are like they're very. Like they're tough to benchmark, and it's weird to like treat them as like some definitive like last stand or something, right? Where they're like, oh, like this is the final say in it. Like we took him, he got an IQ test.
He can't draw a clock.
100 flat. Like get him out of office.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's like all right, great. Can he run the country? Who fucking knows? Man?
Yeah.
Probably. This thing kind of does it by itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of starts consuming all by itself until it consumes itself, right?
Soon.
Haven't gotten there yet, though.
Soon.
Knock on wood.
Soon. One thing, too, about that, I do think the cheap jokes, they feel really tonally jarring compared to some of the more serious stuff. Like, the intro 9/11, and we have to talk about 9/11 at some point. The like intro 9/11 whatever clip where it's like just the audio over a black screen, and then it's like kind of sandwiched between the banjo music, like isn't George Bush stupid, and then it'll be like, okay, these like kind of sarcastic jokes about Dick Cheney and whoever making money, and then it'll cut to this horrific Iraq war footage, and it's really jarring. Like I don't think it balances the tone well here. Yeah. It's the
snarky voiceover too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like so YouTube documentary stuff. I mean, they all stole his flow, right?
Totally.
Like
for sure. Like not even ironic.
Yeah.
Like not even making jokes. I really do think
Yeah.
that's, you know, the inspiration for a lot of those that type.
Yeah, but it works, right? Because like it's
I guess.
I don't know if engaging is the right word, right?
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
there's definitely like there's something to it, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. I suppose it's just like it's grating in a way. I think it works better in
mhm,
something that is slightly less serious, you know, whereas
for sure.
this
Yeah.
movie is trying to be very sincere and very uh yeah, like sad, or like this is important, like our democracy
Hmm.
is at stake, etc. type of stuff. And to kind of
Yeah.
couple that with like the jokes and stuff. I guess part of it is to make this movie have a broader appeal, you know, because this is the
Hmm.
most highest grossing documentary ever made. And so, you know, in the box
Sure.
office at least. And so, you
Yeah.
know, it has broader appeal because of that, I guess, but at what cost? So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I yeah, because it does read like an indictment. Like
Yeah.
if you were to cut just the serious bits and like maybe replace some of the voiceovers with a more moderate tone,
Hmm.
like it's just straight up an indictment. Like
Yeah.
you could like play that at like
It's like loose
a trial
change.
or something.
Did you ever see Loose
Yeah.
Change? Actually,
No, but I'm agreeing with you anyway.
do you know what? Wait, you don't know what Loose Change is?
No.
That's crazy. I don't know if Loose Change came out before or after this movie. Hang on, I gotta do some googling. I'm gonna get put on a list for searching this up even. It's like, so they're like 9/11 conspiracy, like really unhinged conspiracy documentaries. I think there's a couple of them, but like they're referred to as just like one series or one entity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's basically where like jet fuel can't melt steel beams comes from, like that, you know.
Right.
They
right.
came out
all of the middle school talking points.
exactly. Yeah, they came out,
Yeah.
I guess, between '05 and '09, so right after this movie.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, they're totally like they're what this movie would be without any of the jokes. It's very like
Yeah. Okay.
during the same year that the Pentagon report was released, the Patriot Act, blah blah blah. You know, like it's very very
Yeah.
straight. You know,
Just info dumping
yes,
constantly.
yeah. And, well, and you know, I can't even think of a good like.
It's hostile info dumping at
Well,
a certain
yeah,
point, right?
it's like-
they're trying to like info hazard you into like breaking your brain in a certain way to be like, like I need to destroy the government.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. If head is not for pets, why so cute? Like that kind of like antagonistic. Like,
the fucking like bonk memes, like just
basically. So yeah, I do think that the influence of the serious type of filmmaking is there because yeah, I mean, you're bigger into YouTube documentarians and like YouTubers than I am. Like I don't really watch a lot of them.
I like the YouTubes, yeah.
Yeah. So is the tone more similar to of like political, like I've seen like one H bomber guy video, I think that's it of like all
He
of
does
them.
he does good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is it more serious or jokey like compared to this movie? Like do you see a trend line between the two?
It's kind of funny because like I mean it's different for everyone, right? Like there's a lot
Sure,
of different
right.
types of YouTubers out there. But as far as like the big ones go, I think the guys that are most successful are either like they're on like one side of the dial or the other, where they're either like very sort of like I think H Bomber guy sort of falls into the like not more professional, but like he takes what he's doing more seriously.
Right.
He'll make jokes, but like if it's about a serious subject, they're not like they might be snide and undercutting, but it's not towards the victims, right? And it's not even
Right.
like
It's not crass.
50-50 or like
Right.
about the situation, right? It's not crass. It's not about the situation as a whole. It's like directly at the perpetrators of whatever perceived crime is happening or like injustice. Like it very clear about like what is the correct moral stance to have there, versus like, oh, like isn't it a shame that all these like poor I'm not going to say that Michael Moore thinks that a lot of the people that were involved in this were maybe stupid, but like it does kind of feel that way, that it seems like a lot of times these sort of documentaries will point to like the casualties and be like, oh, like aren't these guys dumb going out here and
Yeah.
wasting their lives? And it's like, well, like they're caught up in machinations like way beyond
Right, there is
what
a secret
they
third
personally can
option
do.
between like wow, they died for us and our freedoms, and wow, these people are fucking stupid. Like, there is the option of being like,
Right.
maybe they, are, part of like you said, machinations greater than, their themselves, and,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like that's what like it's heartbreaking, right? Because like you see their families and like you can see very obviously the hurt that's being inflicted upon them,
yeah,
right? And like like again like the family with the mother who was like it that kind of hurts to watch, right?
yeah,
Like it's sad seeing like very very raw human emotions on display there.
yeah,
And like yeah, it sucks, but at the same time it doesn't make like it doesn't justify what happened there, right?
no,
Like it doesn't.
right, right.
So
And that's, I think people sometimes, again, the controversy, because there was a lot of controversy surrounding this movie. Like, I think a lot of people
yeah,
will see that and accuse Michael Moore of, like, well, how can you not support these families when they've gone through so much? And it's like, well, again, there is the option
right,
of saying, this is wrong. Or, like, I saw there was like a critique that was when he briefly talks about the TSA and like the flight requirements that happened after 9/11, where it's like you can't. He mentions that like you can only bring on two lighters, like butane lighters.
butane lighters. Yeah,
And
yeah,
and and he points out like that's kind of ludicrous, and I saw this critique that was like, well, he's saying like our reaction was overblown, but then he's also in pointing that out, saying, it's not enough, like it's silly, and it's like, well, yeah, it is silly. Like it's about it being political theater and not actually about, keeping people safe. Because if it was, then there would be, whatever, no dangerous weaponry allowed or no lighters allowed. But because you're allowed the two,
right.
it's not a hypocritical thing. So.
As as soon as like anyone can lobby for and against legislature, right? Like as long as like a company that has any sort of like not even like vested interest, right? Like the tobacco companies, right? Like calling like smoking on or like immediately after flights like a vested interest of a tobacco company is insane, right? Like that's such like a like an infinitesimal percentage of their bottom line, right?
Yeah.
But they still can lobby for it, and they do, and they still like win those concessions.
Yeah.
It's like that's crazy that like our government is built around these companies, right? And I think it sort of calls into that sort of absurdism of like, well, like, isn't America just fucked?
Yeah.
It's like, well, kinda, right?
Should we start a political podcast? Is this going
I
to be
think we need
want
to,
lobby
right?
from now on? I think I'm seeing a new revenue stream emerging. With our
Well,
Patreon.
that's a slightly more dangerous one,
yeah,
you know?
no, I would never do that. I have a job.
In this political climate.
Oh my god. Yeah. Well, we don't need to talk about in 6 or
Yeah,
whatever.
we'll just leave that one
Yeah.
there.
We want to expatriate.
Today we're talking to Edward Snowden. So I heard you haven't been able to leave your house because you're too snowed in.
Yeah, there you go. That was
All right.
great. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, that was good. Do you have any more? Do you have one for Chelsea Manning? No.
Ooh.
Careful now. I don't endorse Ricky. I'm just kidding on this podcast. Ricky's views are not my own.
Listen, we're gonna let that one lie.
Okay.
We're gonna let sleeping dogs lie with that one.
Okay.
I also don't have one. I feel like there's like an Eli, Patriots joke you could make there, but
Oh yeah. Okay. Eli Manning.
yeah, like whole Manning family, yeah, bring it together, go full circle with that one. Anyway,
Yeah.
back to the movie.
Back to this movie. Go ahead.
It's honestly it's cut well. Like it's cut.
Yeah,
Like the scenes that are cut together.
It's definitely
yeah.
a top tier documentary in that regard. Like a lot of I've seen a lot of documentaries. A lot of them are bad or like boring, even though they have like interesting things to say. A lot of political ones too, especially like I've seen several financial, like during the like 2008 financial crisis, like those documentaries, or like the one about Enron gets a lot of play in this household. Like, you know. And, you know,
we're wearing out that play button.
we
right?
are. I am. It's true. And so, you know, it's nice to see something with a little bit more of like a poptimist sensibility, even though it is cheap. Like, I don't think it's well suited for this particular discussion or like this particular topic, like the war in Iraq, especially.
Yeah.
But you know, it is. It's a more fun.
It's engaging.
Watch. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like the snark adds to it. It's like a large draw, right?
It's very like
at least for me.
Yeah, it's very proto. Like, it reminds me of watching fucking Jon Stewart when I was like 11 years old. You know what I mean? Like being like, I'm so smart for watching this. Like, I am.
Yeah. No one else has ever had a thought against the status quo. I am one of the first and only to ever pursue this line of thinking.
Basically, yep.
Yeah. And you know what? Honestly, the way the whole movie is like,
you're like, but actually, it's great. I love that.
It is. It's good stuff, though. And like the way that Michael Moore actually like makes the movie, it's like he has that like in his mind the whole time.
Oh, totally,
of, like,
for sure.
I am the greatest. But like,
did you watch
like,
South Park? Like when you were
no, but I was going for a South Park.
I was gonna say
there,
I watched South Park when I was in middle school a little bit, but I'm pretty sure that they have a Michael Moore character show up several times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that's what you were invoking.
No, but like, I mean, I was imagining if Michael Moore was in South Park, like how he would sound, and yeah, it's. I mean, I'm glad it lands.
I didn't
right?
know I
I'm
had
glad
Trey
I was close
Parker
with that.
and Matt Stone on the horn here with you. That's great.
Yeah, well, let me do some little arts and crafts. Cut out paper guys for it.
Should we watch the South Park movie at some point?
Hell yeah, let's go.
Absolutely not.
Well,
that was another one of those.
know.
Like, should we be a political podcast? Should we watch the?
Looks like in
South Park
2
movie?
weeks we're gonna have another Rick pick
Oh my God.
back up on the board.
I'm gonna outlaw the year 2000 to 2008. You can't pick any movies from that period.
That's A, fucked up, and B, insane. Yeah, but like it's weird how much like understanding Michael Moore seems to have of like himself, of like the political climate, of like the sort of like cultural zeitgeist of the time, while also being like very tone deaf.
Yeah.
Like he understands like the severity and like the scale of what he's talking about, but like can't convey that to another human being without like being a snarky asshole, which is like,
Yeah.
it's funny that that's so much of his personality that he just like can't fucking help himself, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, again, comparing him to like YouTube, which like, I don't know, YouTube documentaries, very easy to compare to. I've seen guys who are like much more serious about like way like pettier or like less consequential, less impactful bullshit. But like they're just down to business. Like, it's 12 hours of the most like fucking grueling documentary you've ever seen to like learn about Gundam. And
I was
then, like,
waiting to see what example you were going to pull out. I'm
it's
comparing
the
the
full
bulge
history
of
of
all of the
Gundam.
Street Fighter
Yeah.
over time. Yeah.
We're getting into bulge animations. 3.5 hours is just bulge animation in Street Fighter 3, and it's like, all right, wait a second. I just watched the last 30 minutes describe 6 impact frames of Ken's bulge movement, and versus this snarky ass 9/11 documentary, which I mean covers more than 9/11, but still, it's crazy.
Wait.
To like.
Okay, we have to talk about 9/11 at some point.
Do we? You mentioned that earlier. Yeah,
Yes.
let's talk about it.
Um,
Are we taking a very serious tone with this? It's
No.
been a very long time since 9/11 occurred.
It
Like,
has
let's
been a
be,
while.
Let's be real here.
So, okay, but
Yeah.
This is mostly I just want a soapbox. I do think 9/11 jokes
Okay.
are mostly played out at this point.
For sure.
I do think like
Yeah, they're past their time.
yeah. It's like
The prime was when I was 13,
Right,
in,
yeah,
in
yeah.
middle school, 8th grade. That was
Yeah.
the perfect time to make a 9/11 joke.
Yeah.
Anytime past that, the time is past.
it just
If you're
yeah.
if you're listening and you're 13 and
if you're listening and you're 13,
eighth grade
call
or
a
something,
parent. Like, don't.
yeah, get them here
Yes,
now.
fucking
Get them on the
podcast.
horn. Get him to, I don't know, beat you or something. You made some wrong choices. Ended up here. My views are not Lade's. Oh my god. Anyway,
Oh, we're gonna have to cut out so much laughter.
fuck, man.
No, but I
Sheesh.
every year, okay. Shout out to the Canadians that listen to this podcast. But I have a Canadian
Hey, shout out
acquaintance
Canadians.
who every year on 9/11 is not. They're from Canada, and so they send me 9/11 memes, and I have to be like, haha, yep. And it's like this is just is this the last acceptable edgelord meme structure? Like it's jokes
Yeah.
about 9/11.
Yeah.
Like I don't. It's I don't know. Yeah.
Although, that brings up an interesting point. Maybe not the right specifically, but like edgy meme lords have been trying to reclaim the usage of the R word, which is,
Really?
it's a
Yeah.
yeah, definitely though. It's definitely like people are like trying to like I
Make
don't
it
know,
happen again.
bring it back into like normal usage. Yeah. Which like again, it's another like edgy like
Yeah.
like I'm a middle schooler. This is the first time that I'm outside of like my parents' intervention. I
Yeah.
can speak my mind. I hate Terry, my stepdad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a 9/11 joke.
Fuck
Like it's like
Terry.
all right, great.
Anti
dude.
shout out to Terry.
Yeah. Yeah, anti shout out. We're gonna whisper in for Terry, all right?
Wait, who did we anti shouted out the spotted lanternfly, right, last week? So the list of anti shout outs to Terry, our stepdad, and
Spotted lanternfly.
it's on site.
Step on either of them if you see
Yeah.
them. All right, it's on site.
But yeah, it why the art? I mean, why? It seems. I mean, I guess I know why, right? Like, but
Yeah,
It- yeah.
because it's edgy and it's like it's easy. It's like easy to sort of make fun of, right? It's like
Yeah.
a crowd which like can't defend
well,
themselves
for
really.
a time, people were using the word autist that way, like which is like a legitimate word that I
Yeah.
hear autistic people use for themselves all the time, and so it's like, don't do this. Like, don't ruin
So-
another word. Yeah.
Not to get too deep into this, but
Here
like
we
the
go.
whole Twitter discourse around like
My views are not Ricky's.
neurotypicals,
Yeah.
neuroatypicals, the amount of people who feel very comfortable labeling themselves as autistic versus allistic, and like the amount of like small bean wooification that sort of like commenced after that,
Yeah.
where it became like almost kitschy to be like autistic or to have autistic
Yeah.
tendencies, made it very normalized to be like, oh, like I do this because I have autism.
Right.
And it's like, all right, but like it's not really autism, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think you kind of have to get that. And like, if you're using it in like in a joking manner, if you're making like sort of rude jokes, like
Yeah.
you're just being rude and you're not a part of that group.
Yeah, yeah. Well, part of
I
that
don't
too.
know.
You see that with a lot of like LGBT discourse. Like people.
Yeah.
I mean, I got called a tender queer one time, which is really funny. Like of all of the.
Is that like about like chicken tender
Yeah,
queer,
I'm
or,
actually
like...
yeah. I identify as a tendy queer. But
Tendies now. Sorry, go on.
oh my god, no. But
I wish I lived with my mom still. Sorry.
I'm attracted to Chick-fil-A. What's that squeezy sauce that you turned me on to?
The Chick-fil-A sauce?
Is that Chick-fil-A sauce? I don't know. I don't eat there because I'm not a
Yeah.
homophobe.
Oh yeah.
Wow, I'm just a
that's
tendy,
crazy.
queer tendyphobe. Anyway, yeah, but like you hear these like extremely whatever niche type of like not labels, not that like calling yourself autistic is niche, but You see these
Right.
like communities on Twitter especially, but other social media sites too, that are like super label obsessed and super like clinging to, you know, what it like identifying a certain way and like what that means and what that doesn't mean, and in and out groups. And when
Hmm.
you realize that these people are all under 23 years old, it becomes just so much easier to understand and digest, I think. And I don't even mean that in a
Yeah.
mean way. Like, I just, you know, most of the internet, when you see people saying dumb, uninformed, aggressive, you know, whatever, contrarian shit, a lot of it is just kids and like young people who are still figuring
Yeah.
their shit out. And so it's like, I can
Yeah,
just,
for sure.
you know, whatever. But,
Tune that out. That's not me. You know.
yeah, but,
And
yeah,
and that's a big thing on TikTok as well. Like I feel like a lot of
for
this
sure.
and a lot of that has bled over into Twitter, and like that's where I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
it from. Is I'm like almost poking fun of like, oh, like everyone on TikTok is like self-diagnosing as
Yeah,
autistic,
and it's like
yeah, but
everyone's
that's
just
not
19.
like a great thing, man.
It's fine. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Like,
yeah.
I do think, you know, hot take here. Okay, now we're getting really hot.
Okay.
But,
Oh,
you know,
yeah. Spice it up.
the panic around, like, oh, our kids are, they're, you know, self IDing as trans, and like, it's, you know, it's just a phase, it's a trend, whatever. It's like, setting
Yeah.
aside that that's not probably what's happening in most cases, even if it were,
Hmm.
they'll grow up and it's fine. Like, what's your,
Right.
you know what?
Right.
It's the same.
Right.
Yeah, it's like I don't
It.
identify the same way that I did 10 years ago, whatever. Like, you know, as far as like
Hmm.
sexuality goes, and that's okay, and that's what we want for people. Like, I don't know. It just it's crazy.
Right. Like people can change, they can grow. That's like
Thank God
you know
they
part of their
changed. Like,
identity.
thank God you're not
Right.
stuck at
Right.
18 forever. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
You know what? You would like Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh my God.
As we're getting into this, you would. Yeah.
How
But
did
like
you
it's
bring
it's
this
true.
up?
Like I'm just saying it. Well, because it's about change. It's about people like accepting who they are. Maybe like not getting attached to a label, understanding their place, kind of like within society, and like hey, like you are going to be perceived, right?
Is that the one you have the
Um,
tattoo for?
Yeah.
Wait, we should
Um,
talk about this so I can make fun of you for that.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, you'd love to shit on me for it.
I have,
but also
just not in a recorded
like yeah, no,
format.
fair. But like a lot of it comes from like oh like breaking out of your parents' identities, right? And it's like trying to find your own. And Neon Justice deals a lot with that, right? Not to keep drive a point, but
Hey, add it to the list, man. Make a letterbox list, and,
I
and
will.
we'll, you know.
yeah,
Well, I'm serious. Then you won't every week be like, oh, let me scroll through my Twitter likes to see what I have.
oh, I gotta check my bookmarks. Oh, no.
Actually, I use Reddit now.
I actually, you have no idea. I use
Ricky is
Reddit
pushing
now.
his
I'm a
glasses
Redditor.
all the way over the top of his scalp, past his headphones. Oh, another.
After I get like some like gag glasses to.
That's
to put
another
on.
thing we can add to the illustration of Ricky in our listeners' minds is that he has glasses on
Yeah, and headphones.
and headphones. Yeah, permanent headphones.
If I'm at home.
You need
Yeah.
them the way you need your glasses.
Somebody, like one of the neighbors, I fucked up some popcorn the other night,
Oh,
and
no.
like one of the neighbors came downstairs to be like, "Hey, like, is everyone in the building having a collective stroke, or like, did you fuck up some popcorn?"
Did he say that?
What? No.
See, that's so aggressive.
Yeah. Just make me feel as bad as possible about it.
Yeah.
No, they were very nice about it, but they were just like, "Hey, like, been smelling this for a little while. Wanted to make sure everything's okay." And it was like midnight, and I still had my headphones on. I must have looked fucking crazy because I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Like, sorry." I think I had already moved like the microwave outside at that point, so I was like, "Don't worry, it was bad, so it's outside." And like they must have been like, "Oh, this guy's just off his fucking rocker."
Yeah.
Like,
It's midnight making popcorn, wearing headphones.
yeah.
It's like the gentle
Yeah.
glow of the TV. It's like the only thing lighting up your face from behind. Oh my god.
It's just all red in my apartment. It's the fucking Kramer like chicken light
Oh my god.
constantly,
Are we gonna reference this
but
every
like for
week
no
now?
reason. Yeah, maybe.
Oh my
Like, what you got going on in there? Like the popcorn, it's molten, you know. All right,
God. This molten pop.
gotta move on.
Okay. What else do we have
Sheesh.
to talk about with this movie? Because I feel like we haven't really talked about a
Don't
lot
know.
of it, but I feel like we talked
Yeah,
around it.
I mean, yeah, I think it's pretty easy to talk around. I mean, talking directly about it's kind of like
It's a bummer.
it is a bummer. It's not fun to talk about. It's a very serious subject. I mean, it's easy to make fun of like Michael Moore,
Yeah.
Mikey, because like just with the way that he treats the subject. But like, I mean, having us talk about it, that's a little
Yeah.
save that for the political pod, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's fair. Um,
although I think we can make some general statements. War, bad.
yeah.
Um,
George Bush,
yeah.
not a great guy. Kind of
yeah,
tough.
you can enjoy his paintings. Doesn't mean you gotta like the guy.
Hate the sinner, not the sin.
Fair, fair. Collusion in Congress. I'm not a fan.
How about this tack? How do you feel?
Hmm.
Like you said, you haven't seen a lot of documentaries. Are there any that stand out in your
Yeah,
in
no.
your mind, like that you have seen?
Ooh, I remember seeing one about the breakdown of, I think it was Detroit.
Okay.
I think it was from around 2008, but it was like I don't know if it was a Michael Moore documentary, but like it was shot pretty similarly. It was like on the ground, and it might not have been because I think it was like after like GM and a bunch of other automotive industries had sort of like left the area,
Yeah.
and like the steel workers had left, and Detroit was like wrecked, right? I think it was Detroit. But like they were like really boots on the ground, and they like film all around it. But I haven't really seen documentaries since like high school. So it's
Really?
like that one. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy
Like,
that you watch like YouTuber, whatever, pseudo documentaries, but you don't watch real ones.
Yeah.
Or like feature film.
well, yeah. I don't. I don't know where I would start with feature film documentaries. I guess.
Man, I could give you a goddamn list. I'll be honest, I love to put on a documentary and just like crush a 94-minute, whatever documentary about like some corrupt politician or something for before bed. Like, I love that shit. I
See,
eat that up. It's like my second
I-
favorite genre of movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I do that shit with like really inconsequential YouTube videos. Like how they came up with like the Disney sound or something like that, Like I love
And those are fun.
I love like
Yeah.
they're fun. I love like the super nebulous like like they're talking about someone who seems like completely unrelated, and then 45 minutes in you're like, and he had a brother, and then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I'm locked in. You got me. Like,
Wait,
I'm here, buddy.
So have you ever watched any of John Boy's sports documentaries?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've talked about this
Okay,
before. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I enjoy those. I haven't seen like his like actual ones. I've seen like his future broadcasts where he does like sports commentaries for like sports events like way in the future.
Okay, yeah,
and
yeah.
just they get like super ridiculous, and like it like just like tornadoes come on field, and they're like, oh, and it's carrying the ball away, and it's like just like the most like ridiculous out of pocket shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like his style, and I kind of like not mockumentaries, right? Like, I mean, sure, I like The Office, but like
You
I
do?
like a documentary that's about a well, as much as the next white guy. I like a documentary that's like not too serious, right? Like,
Sure.
it's taking its subject matter seriously, but like the subject matter itself is not very serious. That's like my
Interesting.
favorite sweet spot of documentary for me.
Interesting. Okay, I kind of can't stand I like a documentary that's about either serious topics and handled in a serious tone or light topics in a light tone. I don't think I like the like Fire Festival, Tiger King, Netflix style, like, like I really
They
don't.
take themselves too seriously.
Yeah, I don't like that. I honestly like the Netflixification of documentaries is kind of awful in my opinion.
The Netflixification of many genres.
True.
fucking
But I
media
think
is pretty horrible,
documentaries
right?
is the big one, especially because it
Yeah.
also has led to fewer documentary movies and tons of series that don't need to be a series. Like it's like
So
yeah.
this might be a hot take. I think that The Social Network, is that the Facebook movie? Is that the name of
It's
the
a
Facebook
movie,
movie? The
yeah.
Social
It's not a
Network?
documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a documentary, but it's given rise to a bunch of these like pseudo documentaries, like almost documentaries, and like many of them like don't hit the mark. Where it's like the origin story of like whatever, like Bumble or whatever.
Oh yeah,
right?
okay.
But they're
So
like
like
coming out with this shit now.
yeah, that movie definitely created the blueprint for like the biopic about the founding of a company or like an invention or like some weirdo guy. And like you wouldn't expect to be able to make a movie about this story, but really it's fascinating and dramatic. Yeah, I
Right,
that movie
right.
probably does it the best. But yeah, there's a ton of movies now
Yeah.
that are like docudramas in that vein, where it's it's corny or it's like this didn't need to be a movie. Yeah, the
And
Flamin'
like
Hot
some of them
movie
are
comes to
like
mind. Yeah,
right. Some of them seem like okay. I haven't seen the Tetris one, but like that one looked like
I heard bad things
pretty
about that.
good-ish.
Yeah, I
Okay.
haven't seen it
I don't know.
myself.
It had Radcliffe, right?
No, it had
Daniel Radcliffe? No.
Taron
Maybe
Egerton.
I'm thinking of a different
No,
one.
Dan
Ooh, I
Radcliffe
could be
was in
thinking
the
of a
Weird
different
Al
movie,
movie.
Oh
That's the one
yeah,
that
yeah. Another like sort of like interesting, odd biopic that like
Yeah.
I don't.
Biopic?
They went in. Is that a biopic? I don't know.
Biopic?
Biopic?
I've never heard it called a biopic before. Maybe this is a me thing. You want to get a
I don't
cat
know. Maybe I shouldn't have
on
said
the
it like
line and
that.
say, oh,
Yeah, let me get mine.
see what Lionel has to say. How's it pronounced, Lionel?
He says that the toy that I threw at him to stop chewing on the piece of plastic actually hit Kita. That's what he said
Oh,
right
no.
there with that one. It's fine.
You'll
It's a
kill
light toy.
Kita. She's too small.
She is too small. Give me 1 second to give this guy a little bit of food. Hey.
This is Lane's documentary hour. Go watch Grizzly Man. Go watch Fire of Love. Go watch The Act of Killing. Go watch Paris is Burning. Go watch Blackfish. Go watch Hoop Dreams. Oh, go watch The Thin Blue Line. Go watch OJ Made
What's
in
the one cow
America.
one? What's the
Go
one cow
watch-
one?
The what? The cow one?
What's the cow one? Yeah.
What cow
You know
one?
the cow one?
No.
I'll try to find it. You keep going. You keep telling me.
Oh
this.
no, I was just saying this while watch Room 237. Okay, I'm done.
Watch the cow documentary. It's just cow.
It's just called Cow? You're so
Oh,
foolish.
well, you know what? This one looks pretty good, actually. Yeah, watch this one. I'll try to see if I can find the other one, too.
Oh my god. Do we have anything else to say about Fahrenheit 9/11? Hard to spell. Gonna be honest with you.
Ah,
Couldn't spell Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit?
Yeah, it's the H. The H threw me off every
yeah,
time. Yeah, Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cowspiracy. So I watched that one in high school as well. Like, I feel like there was a bunch that I saw in high school, like Super Size Me, Cowspiracy.
Ooh, should we do a little Super Size Me corner?
Down
I think we've
Druin.
talked about this in the group chat before.
I think we should mention it. Yeah, we have.
Fuck
we
that
have
movie,
definitely mentioned it
basically.
before.
That movie's
Yeah,
total
fucking
fraud,
horrible.
in addition
Stupid.
to being fatphobic and evil. It's crazy that they show that.
When
in
I first
schools.
saw it,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, it's such a joke too. It made me like less health conscious when I watched it.
Yeah. I am anti
'cause,
whatever
like-
this movie is pro.
Yeah, like the whole way it was like presented, and like it was. This is one that like was a very seriously presented. Like again, like they took themselves like way too seriously for like a material that's like almost joking. Where he's like, I'm gonna eat fast food every day for
Yeah.
like 30 days. It sounds like a fucking Jackass bit. He's like,
Yeah.
what is that? And then like the very first day, he's like puking his guts out
Yeah.
already. It's like, bro, like, I don't eat a lot of fast food, but like, it's not that bad. I've never had anything close to that.
Now, granted, of course, if you've been vegan for however long, which, I mean, this is all setting aside the fact that this guy was like a lifelong alcoholic, so that probably had something to do
Right.
with it too. But yeah, if he was
little
truly
bit.
vegan, then yeah, I imagine eating burgers or whatever 3 meals a day is probably going to fuck with your digestive system. Like, it's
Yeah.
just abhorrent
Like-
that we. Yeah.
Back when they used like lard in the
Yeah,
fucking
right,
like
in the
fryer
fries.
oils.
Yeah.
yeah. And it's like he like hasn't touched an animal product in 32 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sure this animal fat will do nothing to my
Right. I'm
like,
sure this
stomach.
is just
It's
because
like,
the food
okay.
is bad for you and not because of my own personal circumstances. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also the fact that like at least my teachers, I don't know how it was taught to you, but they taught that as the gospel
Oh,
truth,
for sure.
right?
I
They were
saw that
like,
movie
oh,
several times in school for health class, like more than
yeah,
once.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a large part of the reason why like I very much so like got turned off to documentaries. I was like, I'm not gonna watch. Like I feel like a lot of like almost the fact that like oh like they're propaganda like just from like
Yeah.
the ones that I had seen and like I was like well like not good not even good propaganda at that, right? Like it's not engaging, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah, fuck that movie.
you know,
I'm trying to
yeah,
think of what else was,
facts.
if there were any other documentaries shown in school for me. We watched Misrepresentation several times. I was shown that a few times,
Oh,
which is
the
like,
miss,
yeah, like MISS, like Mrs.
right?
Representation. It's a very like 2008 core, you know, like feminism is just how women are photoshopped to be skinnier in magazines. Basically, like that's what you need to be worried about. Very, yeah, like
Love it,
Hillary
love
Clinton's
it.
in it. You know, it's a riot. So, I was shown that a couple times, and I watched that again within the last couple of years, and I was like, okay, this is still better than Super Size Me, even though it's kind of quaint and yeah, simple.
So
But
let's get super political on the pod right here.
okay,
What are your thoughts on Hillary Rodham Clinton?
she sucks. She's a war hawk. I mean, what's the? Is there anything else to say?
Yeah. Yep. No, that was it. That was all I wanted
Cool.
to say. She
She
sucks.
was-
She's a war
yeah.
hog.
She was faced with a lot of misogyny, but that doesn't make her any better. You know, it's like both things can
definitely,
be true.
definitely tough circumstances. Yeah, I feel like it's one of those like like the environment that she like put herself into. Like, I mean, great for her, right? Like,
Yeah,
she's a leader. She definitely like overcame a lot of hurdles to get to where she is. Um,
still sucks though.
Just-
Like, yeah, I mean,
it still sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's one story in particular about like her withholding sex from Bill and like not talking to him
What?
for like
This
months
is
after
not
the
where I
Monica
thought you were-
Lewinsky Scott.
Okay.
Yeah, so like after the Monica Lewinsky scandal, and she only reached back out to tell him to start bombing a country.
What? That's not true. Where did you
Yeah.
hear this?
Well, I'm gonna look it up. I mean, it's probably not true, but like
That sounds like
I've
that
read it
sounds like-
several times at this point.
That sounds like an email chain your shitty racist uncle would have sent you in 2003. Source?
I'm googling. Wow. Yeah. I'm not finding any.
I was gonna say I'm literally not seeing anything here. That's cute though
Wow.
that you said that. I'm probably gonna cut that because
You probably should.
Anyway, it's funny you bring up Clinton though because so segueing out of this movie maybe
But yeah, people have a lot of like really bad emotions. So the fact that that's wrong as well. I mean, maybe makes me reevaluate it a bit. But like, people definitely have a lot of vitriol towards her, whether or
Yeah.
not it's like
yeah.
justified is another thing. Yeah.
Beyonce just came out with her country album yesterday, and she did a cover of Jolene. But instead of it just being the song Jolene, she changes the lyrics, and it's very like, Jolene, I'm gonna beat your ass if you come for my man. And
Jeez.
which like people are losing their minds about, like saying it's like bad and pick me and whatever. And it's like, okay, setting it aside for a second, if you expected anything different from Beyonce at this point than to act that way, then like you just haven't been paying attention.
You're
She
talking
made
to the
Lemonade.
Queen Bee here.
Well,
alright?
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
she's gonna, she loves that dumb, like shitty guy, and she's gonna stick by him. So.
Yeah.
Of course, she's going to make Jolene more autobiographical. But regardless, I saw somebody compare. There's a clip of Hillary Clinton talking about Bill Clinton, and she's like, I'm not just some small little woman standing by my man like Tammy Wynette." And like the way she delivers it is just, and people were comparing, like saying that her and Beyonce are both like pick-me's basically because they're staying by their shitty
Wow.
cheating husbands. Anyway, I'll probably cut. All
I
of
mean, kind of true though. I mean,
It
you're
is
kind of
true.
spitting facts with it. Like, let's be real
Yeah.
here.
Like, if you're gonna stay with your shitty cheating man, that's fine. That's your right. But don't come back around and be like, well, actually, he's a catch. Ugh,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. You're not the only one pitching, right? You know, if he's a catch, like,
Oh my god. On that
just
note.
saying.
On that note. Um. Do we?
So, do you have a movie in mind for next week,
Well,
or are we done talking about
final
this movie? I
thoughts
don't
about
know.
Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit. It's
9/11.
Wingardium
Oh my
Leviosa.
god. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, overall, like, I liked it. Like, do I think certain things could have been maybe handled better or had a different tone? Sure. Is it pretty informative? Yeah. Like, there's definitely a slant to it, right? Like, he's pretty straight up in, like, his messaging about how shitty George W. Bush was. Or
Yeah.
HW? No,
Just
just W. Yeah.
W. Yeah.
W. And I mean, he's pretty straightforward about that. He's pretty straightforward about his effects upon America, you know, as a culture and, you know, as a society at that point. I mean, it's like it's good for what it is, right? Like that's a great snapshot of that sort of time period, right?
Yeah. That's what I think this movie really is, more than anything. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nice little time capsule. But
Okay.
anyhow, what about you? Any?
No, yeah.
overarching?
Glad I watched it. It was fine. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
basically my reaction.
I am glad I liked it a lot more than I thought I would going in. And more than like the other documentaries, which like I've only seen like shitty documentaries, so
Yeah.
like maybe not.
We'll have to
Maybe
watch
not great
something
to compare
else.
them.
We'll have to watch some other like big, better than this documentaries too. So,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That'd be cool.
I actually don't have Elaine's frame picked out. I feel kind of bad because I feel like I
Wow.
bullied you. Liesel's rhetoric on our last episode about how I'm constantly shooting down all of Rick's picks has gotten to me. So, I will cede this next week to you if you would like.
Yo,
But
that's
don't pick
crazy
anime.
because
Don't-
I mean,
I got a busy week ahead.
wow. All right. That's crazy. Wow, you're like, I got a busy week. I can't waste any of my fucking time on this stupid animated bullshit. You tell me somebody drew
I'm
this
just
shit?
saying,
I don't
think
want
we
it.
should. I think we need a few more episodes under our belt before we go deviating from the format too much with a TV show and all that. So.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking TV shows.
Oh,
Thinking-
okay. If you want to do a movie, I'm cool with a movie.
I was thinking the animated Neon Genesis Evangelion, the movie, end of Evangelion.
So,
Um,
is this movie accessible? Like, will I understand what's going on if I don't see the TV show first? Or should I?
I'd say yeah for the most part.
Yeah.
It's like in the beginning, there's going to be a lot that's like really jarring.
Cool.
This movie is weird, like especially without background.
Okay.
Even with like the context, it's not going to be like it's still going to be
It's
like
so
a weird
weird.
fucking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some parts of it that have been sort of like memed a lot for good reason. I'll say this movie in particular is maybe not my favorite. Like I really enjoyed the anime, and the last few episodes were like sort of rushed with production, yada yada. So like the movie End of Evangelion is supposed to sort of supplement the last two episodes of the anime.
Okay.
Like without like the understanding of like who the characters are, yada, that sort of stuff, like you'll still like get what's going on. It's not like it's like going to be like crazy.
Yeah.
Like I just don't know anything. But maybe it's not a good pick. Maybe
No,
I should
I'm into.
push
If
that
you
off
think
for-
if you think it's like, we might as well fucking get it over with. But if you don't think if you don't like this movie or whatever, like, you know.
I do like it. I think it's pretty good. I just don't think it's like, I don't know. Some people treat it as like not the Bible, but like as like some
As important as the Bible.
Just-
yeah.
yeah, like some like fundamental text, which I don't think it is. There was some movie that I remember seeing something about, and I was like, oh, that looked kind of like interesting. So now this is gonna seem crazy, and this is I
I'm
have
regretting
no
seating
I
with
have
Rick's pick.
no sort of aspect for understanding like no reference frame for this one. I don't know what type of movie it is. I haven't even looked it up until I'm looking it up right
What is the
now.
movie?
Um the title of the movie is Memories of a Murderer
Oh,
or
Memories of
Memories of
Murder.
a Murder.
Oh, Memories of, you want to
Yeah,
watch
Memories
Memories of Murder?
of Murder.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, interesting. Where did you hear about this movie?
Uh on Twitter. Um
Shocking.
it is the only thing I know about it
Oh,
is a
God.
compilation of the drop kicks from the film. Um, because apparently the director, um, what was it, Bong
Bong
Joon Ho,
Joon-ho, yeah, the one who did
loves
Parasite.
drop kicks. He did Parasite,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, among other great movies.
yeah.
Um,
We could also just do Parasite instead.
you haven't seen either of these movies?
I've seen Parasite.
You've seen
I
Parasite?
haven't seen Memories of a Murder.
Um,
Have you seen both of these
I've
movies?
seen both of them, yes.
Wow, sheesh.
Yeah,
I'm uncultured. It's fine.
well, we've established this.
Yeah, that's not a surprise to anyone in the in
Um,
the audience or on the pod.
Memories of Murder is a really good movie. I really liked it. It's really dark.
Oh shit.
So
Okay.
that's your call. I
Mhm.
will just putting it out there. If you want to watch it, I am totally down. I'm
Oh, I'm
supporting
down for
my
it.
friend's Rick's pick.
This feels like a trap,
It's not.
but
No, I am,
okay,
I'm,
all right.
I'm being serious. I will watch whatever. If you want to watch Evangelion, we can watch Evangelion. If you want to
You're
watch,
like
Memories of
political
Murder,
wording it. You're like, I'm going to support my
Read
key
my
constituent
lips.
here.
I can't say it.
Okay. Yeah. No. Let's go. Memories of a Murder.
Cool. It's just Memories of Murder, not a
Memories
murder.
of Murder. Not a
Memories of
murder.
Murder.
Memories of Murder. On a whole.
From Bong
on the
Joon
whole.
Ho, from 2003. Yeah, I think it's on HBO. I could be wrong. Anyway, it's on somewhere on the internet for you to watch. I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They get it on
Okay.
Tubi for free. It's on YouTube.
Cool.
Google Play Movies and TV.
I can't
Fandango at
believe you've
home.
seen. I can't believe you've seen Parasite. That's shocking.
Why? That was a phenom when it came out.
That doesn't fucking mean anything to you. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
You haven't seen
You're right.
Jaws. Like, have you seen Jurassic Park?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen Jurassic Park.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really need you to get your letterbox in order so that we stop having this conversation every week.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll try. I'll start getting some of it in order.
You've said this 85 times.
A
Anyway,
lot of movies out there. A lot of movies. It gets overwhelming. Looking at all the movies. Having to think about whether or not I've seen it. If I've seen clips of it here and there. If I've osmosised most of it.
Osmosis Jones.
Seen it. That's a good one. You could just do a hard cut right after Osmosis Jones. Seen it. just cut it right there.
I'll put like echoes after it.
Yeah. And then.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay, so I actually didn't do that, as you'll notice here. Instead, I'm going to, per a listener's request, shout out Nick, of two things. Shout out two things. I'm doing a quick two on Cowboy Carter, which came out last week. I really liked it. I'm not a country fan usually. I don't really have anything against country, just didn't grow up listening to it. And yeah, I mean, it is a Beyonce record more than a country record, which I think shows and really helps. But yeah, it not my usual, but nice. It's like I said in the episode, the Jolene cover is a little bit pick me, but like Beyonce's kind of like that. It is what it is. I dug the Post Malone collab. I thought that was really interesting. I hadn't heard that kind of thing from Post Malone before. I think that song's gonna go crazy this summer. I think that's gonna be everywhere, inescapable. Big Zumba record, I think. Zumba instructors across the world doing little hoedowns to that song. The Dolly and Willie Nelson tracks are cool. I think you hear a lot of her self-titled in this album, too. Some of it the themes are kind of dark, especially compared to like Renaissance. The song "Daughter" especially comes to mind. I mean, it's definitely a response to Daddy Lessons, but it's got that kind of darker, spookier tone, closer to something from her self-titled. So that was cool. As a big self-titled fan, it really speaks to her ability to play with genre, especially, I mean, this whole record, it feels like every 3 or 4 songs kind of segue into a new mood in a really cohesive way, which is great and definitely expected after Renaissance, which is, just a journey that I can see myself listening to this record continuously, the same way I do with Renaissance and the others, which is kind of unique to Beyonce for me. I feel like I often just listen to singles. I'm kind of a basic bitch in that way. Yeah, I thought it was really well produced. I really liked that I couldn't tell just listening without kind of keeping an eye on the playback. I liked that I couldn't tell when one song started and ended. That was really neat. I think we're continuing in the reclaiming of Black genres. This project seems to be that. So I really think her next record's going to be, my big brain take is, her next record's going to be a rock album, which is really cool. That's my guess. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe she's going to go like gospel or something like that. But I think the Act 3 will be a rock record. So putting it on the map. But yeah, good record. I probably won't go see her in person, like in concert, for this one, just because I already went to 3 concerts now for her. I don't know, and 2 in 2 years seems like a lot, but I'll definitely go to the movie version of the documentary version of the concert. So I will be seated. But her next record, when she does her rock album, my ass will be in the seat. So yeah, there's my totally inane, uninformed, amateur opinion on Cowboy Carter. When are we going to get the 2 things, guys, on We Want to Watch?